No, on the flip up the microphone.
Oh, I did that. It's on.
Gabe, can you hear us?
I can indeed.
Okay, awesome, thank you.
What is that? Part with malfunction. What is that? I have no idea.
See, that's called cops.
Yeah, yeah, that's the
And I just
button.
broke it. Yeah.
Moving on.
Hi, Jeff.
You good?
How are you?
Great.
It's kind of nice having the sun out this hour. It's bright.
Thanks for including me in that email with Kendall. That was a very legitimate concern, and
I'm sure you've
I-
seen it. Seems like Mike wants really high.
it is bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, it must be. So, I also am glad that they can reprioritize, so we can get that taken care of. Because you're not gonna go out, like to your point, you're not gonna go out there and patch anything. It's like a ramp.
Yeah. Especially in the winter. It's gotten better since kind of thawed up in a day or two now, but it's still pretty bad. The signs. Why is everybody so quiet?
Just like to meditate before I start arguing with you.
Have you ever argued in your life? Huh? Have you?
I don't have to. Some people can accomplish more through
Hey, Jessica.
reasonable discussion.
The mics sound pretty hot to me. Are they normal?
Test, I went to.
Okay, all right. It just seems like I can hear everybody up here and over the speakers. So, I don't know, but we'll just go with it. It's fine.
It's because Gary was so quiet for a while there.
Yeah, probably.
Let's go ahead and do this. Welcome, everybody. We are at the City Council Chambers, 10 West State Street. Today's date's March 14, 2022. The time is 5:30 p.m., the normal time for council meetings. And the meeting is called to order with this notice that the mayor and council welcome comments from the public during discussion of any of the agenda items. To speak, step to the mic, state your name and address for the record, limit your time to 3 minutes so others are given the same opportunity. Speak clearly and direct your comments to the mayor and council and not to any councilors specifically. It's at the discretion of the mayor and council to respond to specific questions and comments or to have staff respond during the meeting. Would those who are able, please join us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Very good. Roll call, please.
Hoop,
Here.
Isom,
Here.
Kell,
Here.
Lottiehoff,
Here.
Schneider,
Here.
Thompson,
Here.
Walker.
Here.
Very good. 7 out of 7. Would anybody on the council or the city administrator like to make any comments before I read a proclamation? Okay. Whereas the Veterans Memorial Coliseum was originally built as a memorial to Marshalltown residents who had fought in and or lost their lives in the Civil War, Spanish War, and the Great War, World War I. And whereas the building was officially dedicated on March 15, 1929, whereas in 2019 the building was rededicated to all Marshalltown veterans who have served, and whereas on March 15, 2019, the 90th anniversary of the building, a fundraising effort was launched to renovate the Veterans Memorial Coliseum. Whereas on March 15, 2020, the Coliseum was rededicated following the extensive renovation of the I missed the date, I'm sorry about that. That was March 15, 2021. The Veterans Memorial Coliseum was rededicated following the extension renovation of the building, and whereas March 15 of each year continues to be an important date in our history, now therefore be it resolved that I, Mayor Joel Greer of the City of Marshalltown, do hereby proclaim March 15 of each year as Veterans Memorial Coliseum Day. As a day we honor the men and women of Marshalltown who have served and who are serving our nation. We celebrate the strength, courage, and dedication of our veterans. We thank you for protecting the freedom of this great nation. May Veterans Memorial Coliseum serve as a landmark of our appreciation for your ultimate sacrifice. We salute you and witness whereof I've hereunto set my hand and caused my seal to be affixed on this 15th day of March 2022. Joel Greer. Sounds like a lot of lawyer language in there. But it has become a wonderful event place, and I'm so thrilled to have the kind of activity that we're having in it. For those who were able to catch the last program, Rotary, Jeff Hubbard was there and told some of the uses that the building's being put to. The most recent one of which was a few men contacted him to see if maybe they could start a basketball league there. He thought they'd be lucky to get maybe 6 teams. As I understand it, 16 teams signed up and were playing. So that's just an example of the use of this building. Thank you, Jeff. And then I don't want to name all the people that were involved in doing the fundraising effort, but most of us know who they were, and we appreciate those. And I know Al Hoop was one of the many who, when we were having the concert out here in front of this building, donated a lot of money to be able to put that Coliseum back in order and make it better than ever. So I just had to throw in those things as well too. At this point then, let's entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved, Your Honor.
Second?
Very good. Roll call.
Schneider,
Yes.
Thompson,
Yes.
Walker,
Yes.
Hoop,
Yes.
Isom,
Yes.
Kell,
Yes.
Lottiehoff,
Yes.
Very good. I'll keep a watch for you, Gabe, too. So if you want to just give us a thumbs up and not have to unmute, I can report that as well. The practice around here requires us to read those items that we just approved.
approve the minutes for the February 28th, 2022 meeting and the bill list in $999,266.80. Approve liquor license renewals for Wandering Creek at 2436 233rd Street, Hampton Inn and Suites Marshalltown at 20 West Iowa Avenue West, American Legion Frank Lewis Glick Post number 46 at 1301 South 6th Street, Casey's General Store number 1441 at 1402 South 12th Avenue, Casey's General Store number 1303 at 111 North 3rd Avenue, including ownership updates. Receipt of the building permit report for February 2022. Appoint Raquel Botello to the Board of Adjustment with a term ending March 31st, 2024. Appoint Kevin Pink to the Library Board, term ending June 30th, 2025. Resolution to approve the facade grant application for 26 East Main Street in Marshalltown, Iowa. Resolution to approve the code building upgrade grant application for 26 East Main Street, Marshalltown, Iowa. Resolution to approve the closing of bank accounts at United Bank and Trust for the general account and Great Western Bank for the Coliseum account. Resolution approving the purchase of 132 East State Street at a cost of $35,000. Resolution approving amendment number 1 to the professional services agreement for the IEDA Downtown Revitalization Grant with RDG Iowa Inc. in the amount of $5,375. Resolution to approve the Region 6 Transportation Alternatives Program application for the Iowa River's Edge Trail. Resolution authorizing the emergency demolition of 3 city-owned properties. And resolution ordering construction of the 18th Avenue Bridge Slab Repair Project number STR 20004, setting public hearing on proposed plans, specifications, form of contract, and estimated cost, and directing publication of notice to bidders.
I'm going to have you start reading the proviso at the beginning of the meeting and the beginning of the discussion, too. Thank you. Very well done.
Your Honor,
Yes, sir.
I have a question about one of those items, if I may.
You may.
Jessica, I'm getting a lot of inquiries now that we approve that for the destruction of the 3 buildings. Do you know, is Lansing giving you a date on, is it this week, hopefully?
I can't say that it is this week. I have not been given a new date, but I do think it will be sometime here in March.
Thank you. Thank you, Your Honor.
As soon as I do get a date, I will be sure to share it with all of you.
Thank you. Those 13 items, by doing it by consent, saved us probably about 45 minutes. That's nice to have. We're at the point of motions. That's item F. Just one of those under there is, what is that for us?
Motion to approve Midnight Ballroom's 5-day liquor license for a rodeo at the Central Iowa Fairgrounds, April 13th through April 17th.
Move for approval.
Thank you.
Second, Your Honor.
Very good. Any discussion up here or out there?
Your Honor, this is just for a 5-day event liquor license. Luisa Ortega will be hosting a rodeo at the fairgrounds as she does annually.
Very good. I see the chief is here. Any concerns about that? No concerns. Very good. Thank you. Let's call the roll.
Walker,
Yes.
Hoop,
No.
Isom,
Yes.
Kell,
Yes.
Lottiehoff,
Yes.
Schneider,
Yes.
Thompson.
Yes.
That carried. On to item G, resolutions. The first one.
Resolution authorizing a $2,000 hiring incentive for non-certified police officer applicants.
Is there a motion to approve it first?
So moved, Your Honor.
Thank you. How about a second?
I'll second.
Very good. Discussion.
Good evening, Mike Tupper, Marshalltown Police Department. So last council meeting, we talked about this proposal, $2,000 hiring incentive for non-certified officers. As we discussed at the meeting last time, we're having difficulty finding people to apply for these jobs. This is not unique to Marshalltown. This is a problem across the country. And we need to be more creative with how we're recruiting and how we're incentivizing people to apply for these jobs. And the recommendation from staff is that we offer a $2,000 hiring bonus for non-certified applicants. So if a non-certified applicant is hired by the city of Marshalltown and this is approved, the applicant would receive $1,000 up front and then would receive the second $1,000 after successful completion of probation. So I know we discussed at the last meeting, is this enough money? I don't know. It probably isn't, to be honest with you, but it's what we can afford. And I think this is the best solution for us right now. So my recommendation is that this resolution is approved. I'm happy to answer questions.
Any questions or comments directed at the chief? Any public comment? Roll call.
Thompson,
Yes.
Walker,
Yes.
Hoop,
Yes.
Isom,
Yes.
Kell,
Yes.
Lottiehoff,
Yes.
Schneider.
Yes.
Very good. That carried. On to the next one.
Resolution approving a 28E agreement between the City of Marshalltown and the Marshalltown Community School District to support a liaison police officer at the Marshalltown High School for fiscal years 2023 to 2025.
Should have paid attention to the agenda. I'm
So
next.
moved. So moved, Your Honor.
Seconded.
Very good. Discussion on this one.
So this is just a renewal of a standard agreement that we've had with the Marshalltown Community School District for many, many years for our school resource officer position at the Marshalltown High School. It's a 3-year agreement, 3-year renewal, so, and we're getting a little extra money this time. So I told Dr. Schutte it was a slight increase in fees, and then he wanted to debate my definition of slight. But for the first year, we're going from $55,000 a year to $57,500. And then for year 2 and 3, the fees will be $60,000 for each of those years. So staff recommendation is to approve the 28E agreement.
Any questions or comments for the chief? Or any public comment? Roll call on this one.
Walker,
Yes.
Hoop,
Yes.
Isom,
Yes.
Kell,
Yes.
Lottiehoff,
Yes.
Schneider,
Yes.
Thompson.
Yes.
That carried as well. Third resolution.
Resolution awarding the bid for the demolition of the 2022 residential demolition Phase 1 to Lansing Brothers Construction, Inc. for a cost of $48,800.
Solicit a motion.
So moved, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Second.
Just briefly. briefly, I'd put out a request for sealed bids on 2 residential properties, 308 South 7th Avenue and 105 West Webster, which we both come into ownership over the last year. And so Lansing Construction was the only bidder on this at $48,800, and I'm recommending approval of their bid.
Questions or comments by the council?
Your Honor, if I may.
You may.
Jessica, do we have other houses? I mean, I think we do. Why aren't they on this bid list too?
There's only one other house that we have, and it needs to have asbestos abated.
Okay.
And so that one will be paired with 24 North First Avenue when we put that out to bid. 2 separate bids, because one's commercial, one residential. But to mobilize for asbestos abatement for just one house is kind of not worth it. But we will be getting that one down this year as well.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you. Any other comment up here? How about in the public? Roll call on this one.
Lottie Hoff,
Yes.
Schneider,
Yes.
Thompson,
Yes.
Walker,
Yes.
Hoop,
Yes.
Isom,
Yes.
Kell.
Yes.
Very good. Thank you. That carried. 4th resolution.
Resolution accepting bid and authorizing the award of contract for the Boone Street Improvements Project number SMW 21002 in the city of Marshalltown, Iowa, in the amount of $171,198.70.
Anyone wish to start this by a motion?
So moved, Your Honor.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion.
Good evening. We received 6 bids for this project. This is for the improvements on East Boone Street at the intersections of 15th Ave and 16th Ave. The low bid was Boulder Contracting in about $171,000, which is below our engineer's estimate, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Fire away with questions or comments from the council. Let's see if the public has any questions. Nobody's jumping up to the microphone. Roll call.
Thompson,
Yes.
Walker,
Yes.
Hoop,
Yes.
Isom,
Yes.
Kell,
Yes.
Lottie Hoff,
Yes.
Schneider.
Yes.
That one carried as well. Would you read the next one for us?
Public hearing and resolution approving the lease of city-owned property to the Iowa River OHV Club through April 25th, 2025.
I'll declare that public hearing is open now at 5:45 p.m. I assume the clerk's office did not receive any written comments.
No, Your Honor.
And it's time for public comments, if any. And time for staff review.
Yes, this is the culmination of kind of bringing a 2010 lease together with the additional request that the OHV Club made back in October of this year for 5 additional acres, which we have described as best as possible within the lease. Just as a, what does this mean moving forward? Moving forward, it gives them permission to start working on the land right away. It also means that we will be sending this into the Iowa DNR as this will change the scope of the 28E agreement we have with them for the OHV Club. And so I would expect that at some point here in the next year, you'll see another document related to the OHV Club and the DNR.
Thank you. Any council comments?
Yes, Your Honor. I've worked with these guys for over 25 years. I live right in the neighborhood, and they do a darn good job with what they do. They do it in a very safe way, teaching kids how to ride these safely and everything like that. You don't see those ATVs running up and down the streets anymore because now they got a place to ride. And all this does is it adds in basic training area, so that you can learn how to ride safely without having to go back into the woods to try and learn. I think Waterloo might be the only other place that has one, or are we the first? Brian would know.
Put me on the spot, Mike. Brian Arrowood, mouthpiece for the Iowa River OHV Club. Waterloo has a nice area for beginners and a advanced skills area. That's what we're kind of going after. The Bluff Creek Park also has a similar, it's not very well established, but they have an area that's good for training beginners and that. our biggest advantage here will be when the park is underwater, when the river's out of the banks, we'll still have a place to let people enjoy some riding. And it'll be easily visible from our parking and the shelter house, so parents or guardians can watch their kids ride out there in that area.
Okay. Can you tell us, just so people in the audience, where's the closest other place you can go ride if you have one of these?
Waterloo is the closest. That's
Yeah.
roughly an hour from here on the highway. Bluff Creek is an hour and 20 minutes. Fort Dodge is a great area, and it's, well, an hour and 3/4.
Yeah. Yeah.
Tama has a park that's similar to ours in terrain. They are working through the derecho damage like we are too, so.
You guys draw an awful lot of people from out of town. I know that
Working
for a
on it.
fact. Yeah. And that's nice to see.
I'd like to take a second to thank Jessica for all the paperwork, and she's been great to help put all this together, because we've had several different dates on the agreements we've worked with since the beginning, and we're trying to get them all tied up so it's easier for all of us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. I doubt everybody in the room knows that Brian's was also instrumental in the founding of the Trails Inc. that is working on that 34-mile trail to get all the way up to Steamboat Rock. Another thing that will draw people in here from all over the state, maybe out of state when that's all done too. So thank you for what you do for recreation around here, and the other gentlemen that were here tonight to answer questions. Any other council comments?
Your Honor, if I may?
Yes, you may.
Jessica, I just want to make sure what you said was they can start work on this immediately. We don't have to wait for the DNR side of it, right?
From what I understand, that just the groundwork and things, that can definitely start. I don't believe it can be open and for use until the DNR has officially signed on the line on
Okay,
that one.
but they can start making the course then? Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Your Honor.
You bet. Boy, it's 61 degrees and sunny today. Would have been a good day to be out there doing that today. Other council comments? Otherwise, I will declare the public hearing is closed at 4:49 p.m.
At what?
5:49 p.m. I haven't gotten used to daylight saving. My watch is right. I just apparently my biological clock hasn't caught up yet. Sorry. Good catch. Let's see. That was the public hearing. I guess we could have a motion to approve it too, right?
So moved, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Second.
We've already had discussion. Let's call the roll.
Hoop,
Yes.
Isom,
Yes.
Kell,
Yes.
Lottiehoff,
Yes.
Schneider,
Yes.
Thompson,
Yes.
Walker,
Yes.
Thank you. That one carried. Gabe, you're phone only, not visual, so the thumbs up won't work. We'll have to keep you unmuting. Tell us what number 6 is.
Public hearing and resolution approving plan specification form of contract and cost for the 2020 box culvert repair project in the city of Marshalltown, Iowa, being project number SMW20003.
That public hearing is now open at 5:50 p.m. Did you receive any written comments to the clerk's office?
No, Your Honor.
Time for public comments. Seeing none, let's do staff review.
Good evening, Heather Thomas, Public Works. This project is to repair 4 box culverts and the decking and the sidewalks associated with them in 4 locations throughout town. Our cost estimate's just over $265,000, and we hope to open bids on March 22nd. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Are there any? It is now time for council comments.
Your Honor?
Yep.
Heather, what's the time frame on when these will be completed?
Yep, they have a completion date through September of this year.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Your Honor.
You're welcome. Any other council comments or questions? All right, I'll declare this public hearing is closed at 5:51 p.m. and would entertain a motion to approve it.
So moved, Your Honor.
Second.
Thank you. Roll call.
Lottiehoff,
Yes.
Schneider,
Yes.
Thompson,
Yes.
Walker,
Yes.
Hoop,
Yes.
Isom,
Yes.
Kell.
Yes.
All right, what's our next public hearing?
Public hearing and resolution adopting the budget and certifying taxes for the fiscal year ending June 30th, 2023, and approving related transfers between funds.
That public hearing is now open to 5:52 PM still. Did you receive any written comments?
No, Your Honor.
Public comments. Staff review.
Good evening, Diana Steiner, Finance Director. So this budget gives us the authorization to spend money in fiscal year '23. It includes revenues from property tax, road use tax, local option sales tax, and other taxes, bond issuances, grants, donations, and fee for service. The property tax levy rate is $15.36163 per $1,000 of taxable valuation. We started this in January, and will be the last meeting if we finalize it. So, do you have any questions on the documents provided?
Time for council comments and questions. Thank you. Public hearing is closed at 5:53 PM. Is there a motion to approve it?
So moved, Your Honor.
Any second?
Second.
Thank you. Roll call.
Thompson,
Yes.
Walker,
Yes.
Hoop,
Yes.
Isom,
Yes.
Kell,
Yes.
Lottie Hoff,
Yes.
Schneider.
Yes.
Very good. Thank you. Next one is number 8.
Public hearing and resolution adopting the FY 2022 budget amendment for the fiscal year ending June 30th, 2022, and the transfer between funds.
Public hearing is open at 5:53 PM. I'm assuming no written comments were received at the clerk's office.
No, Your Honor.
I'm betting nobody from the public's going to stand up and talk on this one. Looks like I'm right, and so it's time for staff review.
Diana Steiner, Finance Director. So a year ago, you adopted our current year budget, and since then, we've had many changes, including new grants received, ARPA funding, a bond issuance, changes in our capital improvement plan, and changes from our FEMA derecho projects. So I ask that you adopt this new budget. We have to do a budget amendment whenever there's a change in the 9 function areas.
Thank you. Time for council comments and questions of Diana. Public hearing is closed at 5:55 PM. Is there a motion to approve this item?
So moved, Your Honor.
Second.
Roll call.
Thompson,
Yes.
Walker,
Yes.
Hoop,
Yes.
Isom,
Yes.
Kell,
Yes.
Lottie Hoff,
Yes.
Schneider.
Yes.
Carried as well. On to the 9th and last of these with public hearings.
Public hearing and resolution approving the FY 22 to 26 capital improvement plan.
Still 5:55 PM. Declare the public hearing is open. Did you get any written comments?
No, Your Honor.
Any public comments? Staff review on this one.
Diana Steiner, Finance Director. So this 5-year plan outlines the projects and equipment that we will strive to complete and how they are to be funded. So we started this back in January as well and have tweaked it along the way the last several meetings. Any questions?
And that does call for council comments or questions.
Your Honor, I'd like to make a point of complimenting Diana on the work on this budget. She's done an excellent job leading us all the way through. She had to work with 2 councils. Well done. Thank you.
Thank you, too, for that comment. Those of us who've sit up here and show up at the annual planning meetings and things like that have a fair idea just how much work goes into that, and we don't say that often enough. Thank you. Okay, that public hearing is closed now at 5:58, just made it to 5:52 PM. Is there a motion to approve it?
So moved, Your Honor.
Second.
Roll call.
Hoop,
Yes.
Isom,
Yes.
Kell,
Yes.
Lottie Hoff,
Yes.
Schneider,
Yes.
Thompson,
Yes.
Walker.
Yes.
Very good, that carried as well. On to item H at ordinances. We have just one. What's that one?
Ordinance 15039, amending the Code of Ordinances by repealing Chapter 156 entitled Zoning and enacting and adopting a new Chapter 156 entitled Zoning, including the zoning map, and repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict therewith.
That is open for motion to approve it.
Move for approval.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
The discussion.
Yes, Michelle Sponheimer, Housing Community Development Director. So first of all, I would like to thank our Plan Zoning Commission especially for the time that they've put in these past several meetings, including a couple of our council members, Gary and Mike, who are each of these lengthy meetings we had over the past 3 weeks. So kudos to all of them for doing a lot of legwork and hard work to get the ordinance here to this point. So real brief, I do have just an overview of some of the slides that were actually presented to the Plan and Zoning Commission by Ken Keast on February 24th. These have been posted to the website, so if you want to look at more detail, you certainly can. But I just wanted to kind of highlight a couple of different things amongst these slides. So this project is a very big project for us. Our first ordinance dated back to 1957, and we did some major overhauls in the early 2000s, late 90s. But we really had not done with a consultant like this to actually rewrite this code from start to finish, and that's what this project includes. So a lot of it does involve consolidating some different things, some of our districts, working within our comprehensive plan to guide based on what our future visioning was, where we want to be as a community. Looking at different types of uses and trends and things that are happening in the country today in terms of accessory dwelling units, solar panels, home-based business legislation, which is currently being considered by the state right now. So there's a lot of different things that we tried to incorporate into this revision. I would say that our first and foremost thought throughout all of it was to make Marshalltown a place that is developer friendly, that we can grow, that we can be ready for different housing types, different types of commercial mixed use development. We want to be positioned at a point where developers, as they're coming to us, say, you know, this is a community that we can work with that is progressive and supportive of our development. So we did a lot of clearing up different inconsistencies, duplications, like I said, consolidation, trying to think about our approaches and procedures, trying to keep. Right now, we do have a lot of our things are administrative. That was really a major priority of mine, is I wanted to keep in that administrative mode as much as possible, so that ordinances are clear, people can submit, and we can approve things without having to go through special reviews and commissions and council approval. No offense to all of you kind of people up here, but we like to keep things administrative if possible, just to keep things moving quickly. So the Ken Keast Collaborative worked to develop the ordinance based on their extensive history with code development. They looked at two different modules, essentially, that we received throughout the process. Partially, the first one was including general provisions, looking at our zoning districts, our land use, building and site design. So really getting into some of the ideas of, you get new development happening, what do we want it to look like? What do we want to see in our community as it develops? What are some of those general standards that we have expectation throughout the community, as well as within specific districts? Looking at definitions as well as part of that. We also looked in the second module, kind of focused more on the development review body, so the commission, the council, our board of adjustment, and then kind of that staff administrative piece for different things, talking about who does see what topics and how do those procedures go. Certain things are regulated by state code, and so we have to abide by those. Those things don't change. We don't have flexibility in those areas. Things like variances, special uses, appeals, those all go to the Board of Adjustment, and that continues. Looking at nonconformities within our community. Whenever you have an ordinance change, you're going to create nonconformities. An important thing is that we recognize what is legally established and conforming today that will maybe not be conforming tomorrow is allowed to continue operation. what we commonly refer to as grandfathering is kind of a common word. It's not a word you'll find in the ordinance, but that's kind of a term that we hear. It's important to know that those things can continue. So if you have a business that's operating and maybe in the future that wouldn't be a newly permitted business in that area, it doesn't mean that you have to shut your doors. It doesn't mean that you can't continue to operation or that you couldn't even sell and continue that use to somebody. Same thing with a residence, you know, in an area that might not be for new residential. So it's really thinking about when we have changes, when we have expansions, when we have new development is the priorities for this ordinance. Talking about enforcement, you know, and looking at violations, we really do use everything under the municipal infraction policies or codes for enforcement when it comes to zoning. And so that's a section that we, after consulting with our legal advisors on it, we really just kind of narrowed that down to a very simple section, which just says straightforward, it's a municipal infraction, and we have to go through that court process in doing that. Including, again, more definitions, acronyms, and things like that. We have several different districts. Right now in our current code, we have over 20 districts of zoning classifications. Our goal is to really narrow that down. So we do continue to have some residential, low, medium, high densities, a rural residential, but we also created some mixed-use districts. Right now, our central business district is a mixed-use district. Our traditional neighborhood is a mixed-use district. In the new code, you're going to see references to a mixed-use classification as well as an urban core. And so those two districts allow for mixed uses, whether that's in the same building or adjacent properties. You may see different uses within an area, and those would both be classified as mixed use. We also created an urban core historic district. So in Marshalltown, we do have one historic district, which includes most of Main Street and around the courthouse square. So that particular district is an overlay, essentially, outlining that historic classification and what might be different within that district versus the rest of the downtown. We condensed all of our commercial districts essentially to one general commercial classification. We got to a point where we had several different commercial classifications, and it was, are you selling this versus this? Are you doing this work versus this work? So many businesses, you know, kind of span a wide variety, and to separate based on this was really a challenge for business development as well as for enforcement. So, you know, creating one general commercial district, I think, will allow a lot more flexibility with our commercial developments to occur. We did the same thing with our industrial district. We went down to one industrial district. We still have special uses and limited uses within these areas so that we can control things that might be, especially in the industrial, like really heavy industrial type of activity that we want to regulate in some way, can still go through as a special use permit that goes through the Plan Commission and the Board of Adjustment for extra condition criteria. So it doesn't stop those things from happening. We have a full table of uses. This is similar to what we currently have in our code, but it is what I would say more condensed. So we tried to, rather than listing each and every type of use, we tried to get into like more of a category theme and allow for that, more thoughtful about how the user, the end user, might approach it rather than going based off the national industrial standards. And so we have, if you look at this table, you'll see P for permitted uses, an L for a limited use, and an S for a special use. If it's got a dash line, then that's a not permitted activity in this district. And so we went through and we really tried to think about what is occurring in our community currently. How do we want it to look with new development? Where do we want those areas to be? And identify those various types of uses and how they would outline. Some of the other things that we included is use and design standards. So specific to different zoning districts, there may be form and function type of things that we're looking at. How is the development laid out? Within our residential districts, are we seeing what we call like a cluster development or conventional development or infill development? This allows a developer some flexibility. In the past, we have used a lot of planned unit development zoning classifications. It's really not the ideal situation. It adds a lot of administrative steps to the process. when you're establishing that. And our goal was to really try to broaden that area, so when a developer comes forward, if they want to use a certain type of development, such as a cluster, which basically says, I'm going to have smaller lots, but I'm going to have some more open area around in this development, it allows you to do that from the forefront without having to go through 15 extra meetings to do it. And so kind of looking at those variations on how we could really think about development that it'll occur as we do new development in some of our green spaces throughout the community especially. Taking into, I said, things that are happening across our country, accessory dwelling units is something we talked about here at the council at the end of last year. Where those are allowed, what you maybe commonly refer to as the grandmother's unit out back, that type of thought. It's an option that allows for housing flexibility. As we see, affordable housing is always an issue, but these are ways that can help supplement a family and live that generational housing and have an extra unit, but they still have to meet certain conditions. And so as outlining that, going after communities that have done this well and incorporating some of those recommendations. Talking about solar panels, again, a hot topic right now. I see everybody is looking at solar and different ways to incorporate it. We want to make sure that we're thinking about that, and especially if we get large solar fields that are installed, thinking about the decommissioning of those, and if things happen that they are no longer in use, what happens to them? That's a issue that we maybe haven't addressed previously. Looking at design standards, just kind of in general placement on property, setbacks, some of those bulk requirements which we are used to seeing, but also, materials, building form, entrances, and, roofing styles, thinking about it within different districts as well, and how those are applying to different areas, what we want to see in the downtown, for example, versus maybe a traditional residential district. As a community, we don't have some of those neighborhoods which you might see in coastal communities where you've got all the brownstones or all of this type and, something like that. We do have a lot of variety throughout our neighborhoods. So as we're seeing infill especially, we want there to be some coordination and compatibility within our neighborhoods so that things don't completely stick out. But we also want some flexibility. We want to see those lots redeveloped and built upon so that we can add to that tax base and add to our population. So providing opportunities for those kind of things to happen is important. Parking is a big issue that zoning ordinances address, and so looking at what the standards are for minimum and maximum number of spaces, whether it be for residential, commercial. This is kind of a trend that we're seeing in communities across the board, where it used to be we had very high levels of parking requirements for businesses, really in excess of what they often needed. It was basically planning for Black Friday parking. And we really don't need to do that anymore. And we're seeing that, throughout the industry, that we're starting to pull back those requirements and actually put caps on the amount of parking so that we don't get that excessive concrete. That adds to other issues, stormwater and those kind of things. And so this kind of pulls us back in a little bit. I don't think it's too extreme either way, but it allows some more flexibility where hopefully the market will drive it. What you feel like you need will hopefully fit within there, and we're not seeing that a large number of parking spaces are going to be required for the majority of uses. And it's really tailored more to that minimum number to accommodate the really basic need on things. Wouldn't stop in some cases, from going a little bit higher than a minimum, but hopefully eliminates that really excessive amounts. Also looking at loading and stacking, the drive-through lanes, things like that, how we outline some of that information. Sign standards are another big item that are covered in zoning as signs. I think that the revisions here will hopefully make things a lot more user-friendly. We really try to focus on graphics throughout this ordinance so that it's easier to look at it and go, oh yeah, that's the type of sign I'm going to put up. How does it apply? And looking at it within the districts, what is the allowances for each type of sign within terms of area, square footage, height, location, things like that. So this applies to all your permanent signs as well as we have some temporary sign regulations as well. a big thing with the signs that we've had conversation about at the Planning and Zoning Commission level, as well as the council level here, is a Supreme Court case, Reed versus Gilbert, that happened, which addresses content neutrality. This is a big shift for communities. We so often think about a sign based on what it says. And really the ruling that came out of this court case is if you have to read it, you shouldn't be regulating it based on that criteria. And so we can regulate based on location, we can regulate based on size, but if I have to read what it says, then that becomes a problem. And so this is something that a lot of ordinances have really done big overhauls in the past few years to correct this in the language so that our sign regulations are based on a content neutral position. And so I think that we really have hit that here. And as best as we possibly can, I think at this point. And it's hard. It's hard to get your head over, wrapped around like, oh, is that a real estate sign versus, a commercial sign or a political sign or things like that. We think about them in terms of yard signs, L-frame signs, H-frame signs, things of that nature based on their structure, location, size, pieces like that. So that's a big item that is shifting in our sign regulations and will take a lot for, I think, the general public and industry to also kind of wrap around. Talking about the development review bodies again that I referenced, we obviously have you as the council as the ultimate legislative action when you're adopting the ordinances. Plan and Zoning Commission is making recommendations to you, to the Board of Adjustment on various topics. The zoning administrator would include myself, Caleb Knutson, our city planner, anybody who's making that determination on a zoning action. We also have floodplain administrators, which is handled under our engineering office for floodplain review, and the building official, which is also out of my department. And then Board of Adjustment, for the Board of Adjustment wasn't listed on there. That's our quasi-judicial board, and that's kind of here. So they're reviewing, as I mentioned earlier, the variances, the special use permits, the appeals to the zoning district. So again, we're trying to keep things very clear, what's administrative, what's legislative, and what is a quasi-judicial action. So when the Board of Adjustment takes an action on something, to appeal that, it goes to the district court. So it's not something that comes back to you as a council. It's not something that you can overturn them. The only way to appeal and go through that is through a district court. That's what makes them a different kind of functioning board. The development review procedures, again, just a kind of another graphic that we tried to incorporate using a table format to hopefully better distinguished process. And it's hard sometimes to just read 200 and some odd pages of code. It helps to have a table, have a graphic that can lead you through what do I need to do and where. And so that's what some of our tables in here is just trying to outline that. If I'm applying for a variance, this is the process it's going to go through. Again, just some more of that table talking about notice, public hearing notice requirements, is one of the big ones. What things require hearing notices, what's don't. In zoning, a lot of things do require notice of public hearing. This ordinance had a public hearing at the Plan and Zoning Commission. It will have another one here at the council level. We talk about nonconformities. So again, like I said, things that are legally existing, are appropriate today that may not be by the enactment of this ordinance. How do we deal with those? How do you add on to those or not? What are the regulations that apply to those things? And how do you convert and move forward? I really, truly think that we will actually see a lot of properties here in Marshalltown that are currently legal non-conforming go to a conforming status because our lot sizes are changing, our setbacks are changing, and some of those things that maybe we got really kind of restrictive in some areas that we are trying to open back up, we're actually going to see fewer properties that are non-conforming than maybe we had in the past. I don't have a way to specifically look at every parcel in town and make that determination. It's just kind of a sense that I feel by administering this for the past 20 years. So I think that that's something that we will see happen, is that more and more is actually conforming, and we'll have fewer cases of nonconformity moving forward. That was a lot in a very quick window. again, I just wanted to, thank everybody for the work that they put in, the comments that we received. In your packet, you will have seen that there was an amendment list that we went through with the Plan Zoning Commission. It was probably, 10 or 12 pages at least by the time we were done with it. We tried to address a lot of different things, whether it was just a technical issue to more of a major discussion point. Like I said, I really appreciate the work that the commission did to go through those items and talk about them, to come to you with what I feel is a really good ordinance. The other thing I want to just kind of relay is that I think it is very important for us to continue with this adoption and to get the ordinance on the books, knowing that we're going to have some changes. We're going to have some things that didn't work exactly like we envisioned them, some areas that we forgot, about. There are going to be some things that come up that we will be amending. So the zoning ordinance is very much a living document in that way. You've seen ordinance revisions come to you over the years, whether it be by owner request or by city staff recommendation. That will not change. I fully anticipate, especially with the adoption of this code within the first 3-4 months, we'll probably have a pretty good little list going of things that just didn't quite sync like we thought that we're going to need to amend. And so I would plan to kind of have that within kind of a 6-month window of here's what I recommend is some adjustments that we need to make in terms of amendments to the code. And so we hope that there's none. I'd love to say there'll be none, but I am realistic to know that we will have some. And so I think it's important to recognize that. We do have a lot of projects that have been, we've been working with over the past several months, working based on the draft language with them to talk about their projects and how those are going to be in the new code versus today. A lot of them are kind of waiting on this adoption, and that's one of the reasons why I do want to keep things moving with that. And so, Gary's going to laugh at me, but I do want to keep it. I know that we've been working on it for a long time. I certainly hope that if you have specific items that you want to address or have me address and bring back further information for you to the next meeting, we can bring those up if there's items that you want to talk about. I will leave it at that for me and open it up to you.
Not this time, Mike. You go first.
It's all yours.
Your Honor, if I may.
You may.
Kudos to Michelle and Caleb and the planning and zoning. It was interesting for Mike and I to sit through those 3 meetings, and I'm sure for Dex to show up at that one. And there's a lot of stuff. I mean, this is a lot of work, and there will be things that got missed. I mean, it's 214 pages. So Michelle did talk to me and say, keep my mouth shut. But there's one thing we need to decide on moving forward. Doesn't have to be tonight, but we have to address, are we going to allow signs in the right-of-way, in the terraces? Either we're going to allow them or we're not going to, or if we're going to allow them with conditions in certain districts or certain time periods. Can't regulate content, but we can regulate the time period and the districts. Correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, so following because this item did come up with the Plan Zoning Commission, and we had some discussion about it, and I also consulted with our legal representation on this too. One suggestion, what I have currently in the drafted proposal before you, is the inclusion of a directional right-of-way sign, limiting it in size to a smaller sign, similar to what you might see for a garage sale. Again, can't say garage sale sign. Our current ordinance actually says garage sale sign. We can't do that anymore. So the size-wise of that type of sign, allowing it for a period of 72 hours in the right-of-way, and so that it's not something that is out there extensively. So that is an alternative that I'm proposing to allow for those kind of common things that we see on the weekends, the garage sale, the open house, you know, maybe the car wash that's happening as a fundraiser, or a community event, Oktoberfest or the art festival or something of that nature, where you have some of those signs that you want to put out to alert the community or residents, hey, this is how you get here, this is where you go, and it's for that kind of intended purpose, and that it's a short window of time, that it's not out there in the long run. So alternatively, you can say, you know, signs can be in the right of way and just allow those temporary type of signs in the right of way. That is an option. And we can eliminate references to excluding signs from the right of way, or you can say nothing is allowed in the right of way, and we can withdraw that section that I have, and just say everything must be on the private property. So, you know, if you're gonna go put a garage sale sign out for your garage sale, you would be talking to the neighbor who has that corner, saying, can I put the sign in your yard, right? And not putting anything in the right of way at all. And so that is kind of the options as I see them. What I've proposed, I feel like, is kind of a compromise of the two, which allows for some flexibility. But certainly that is an item that is up for the council to make that final decision. Because when I say you can't do it, I'm going to say the council said so.
So what I would suggest is, we've got till April 11th, when the public hearing is. So I would offer this up, that we talk to people that gives us a month, and see how they feel, and we can amend this even at the last reading to go one way or the other, or, well, there's actually three options: no signs, any sign, or the hybrid, which is the time period, which we disagree on regulation of that, but that's okay. But anyway, I would suggest that we wait till the public meeting to do that, unless somebody has a strong feeling one way or the other, and we get into it tonight. But planning and zoning did a great job, and it was fun experience. It was fun to watch them plod through this, for lack of a better word. So, thank you, Your Honor.
Your Honor. Michelle, what's the reasoning why we're even discussing taking signs out of the right of way? Is the city get a lot of complaints? Is it a taste thing? What's the reason why it's being discussed?
I think that it's one of those things that just kind of goes back and forth. You know, we've not allowed them in the right of way, then we did allow some signs in the right of way. And then, you know, so we've gone back and forth even ourselves as a community. I think it does just kind of come down to what is the general feeling, you know, of residents. Does it get to be too much? And that's usually when things swing. It's like a pendulum, right? You know, so as soon as you start to see lots of signs in the right of way, everyone's like, we got to pull them back. They need to be on the private property. Certainly they can become visual obstructions or cluttering, things like that. Those are kind of some of the key things that communities tend to see when they don't want to allow them. And so we still always will have that ability, if we think there's something that's a visual obstruction, a safety hazard, that we could regulate that. And so I feel like, you know, that one's covered under general nuisance and things too, if we get to be something that is problematic there. But I think it really does kind of tend to be a little bit of just a trend one way or the other, and how you're feeling. Would be my opinion on it.
Okay, thanks.
I guess I'll speak up. I really like the hybrid. I really do. If I had my druthers, I'd have nothing in the right of way, because I've seen pictures of 200 signs in a 60-foot area. You know, and you could do it right along the highways. I also am concerned about kids walking out into the street behind signs and stuff. Whereas when you're driving down the street, I think your attention ought to be on the street, really. The hybrid offers you the garage sale, graduation, everything like that. Otherwise, if you really feel strongly about candidates or anything like that, then put it in your own yard, you know. I think it can look a little cluttered. That's my own opinion. I agree with Gary, but we can discuss it more on the third reading, I guess.
And I would offer that, you know, if you have, after you think about it tonight and over the next, you know, week or so like that, if you have a thought on it or opinion even before then, my goal would be at the public hearing, the third reading, I have any other revisions incorporated into that agenda packet for you. Certainly you can make amendments still that last reading, but I will try to get a revised to include any last things between now, the second reading, or any other comments that we may find before then for you. So if you have strong opinions one way or the other and you want to let me know about that, we can certainly discuss those.
Your Honor?
Yes.
And that includes the staircase one, right?
Yeah, I did, Gary had brought up a comment about uncovered and enclosed staircases coming off. Specifically, we have one in the downtown. One of the things that I found was it says it can't encroach into the rear yard setback. Well, in our urban core district, we actually have a 0-foot setback.
Oh, okay.
So in that
All
case,
right.
I think it's fine.
Okay.
This is one of those, I don't think we ought to be looking at waiving the readings or, trying to speed
Absolutely
it up.
not.
This
I
one's
would
gonna
not
take a little while.
recommend waiving any readings.
Yeah.
This is a major ordinance. I fully anticipate all 3 readings. The public hearing, as was said earlier, is scheduled for April 11th, so that notice will be posted here shortly for that hearing. But no, we would fully anticipate all 3 readings. I would like to keep on that schedule to be done by April 11th, but no, I would not recommend waiving anything.
Very good. Other council comments or input?
Your Honor.
Yeah.
I just want to highlight what I feel is the real strong work product that the P&Z Commission has brought us, which is a plan that really takes seriously the goals of this council, which are to remove barriers to the growth of our community and meeting folks and industries and making Marshalltown an easy decision and staying here easy as well in terms of supporting them in the way that they can maintain their property and support the people that want to do business with good people here in Marshalltown. So thank you for that consideration, and it's encouraging, I think, to the members of this council that that's the direction that this work is heading.
Good point.
Very good.
Good point.
Thank you. Anyone else up here? Otherwise, I'll call for public comment. Okay, thank you. I forgot where we are procedurally. A roll call? Okay.
Thompson?
Did we even call for a motion on this one? Okay, we did. Okay.
Yep.
I got lost. Yes.
Walker?
Yes.
Hoop?
Yes.
Isom?
Yes.
Kell?
Yes.
Lottiehoff?
Yes.
Schneider?
Yes.
Okay, that carried. First reading is in the bank. On to discussion items. Item I, and the first one is about the fireworks funding request.
Yes, Your Honor, we have Louisa Ortega here to address the council.
Yay.
Seems like there ought to be some fireworks
Yeah,
when this
right,
happens,
exactly.
you know?
We don't have any left over.
Unfortunately,
We shot them all.
I feel like I was just here yesterday, so this is really. First of all, thank you very much to the city council and everybody who donated and participated and helped to raise the funds for last year. We had a super big show last year, and it was the Marshalltown More Than Ever theme. And they really, Marshalltown and the businesses around really helped make it a huge success. The Chamber, Fisher, Lennox, everybody really in town pitched in to make it a very big show, and I think it was very successful. We had a huge fireworks show. The turnout was really good. We had a lot of food vendors. I think it went pretty well. And this year, obviously, I'm back again. So to request a $5,000 contribution from the city, and then also to seek out help, and hopefully people on the city council and others would like to help out to raise the rest of the money. The fireworks, though, unfortunately, did go up in cost. So my goal when I started doing the fireworks was to increase it by $1,000 every year so that we gradually get to a bigger show and can be more competitive with some of the communities around us, and that people would stay here in town and not have to travel, especially when we consider all the kids and some of the lower income families that can't travel outside. It's kind of nice to be able to have the show here, and also to be able to celebrate our Independence Day here in town and commemorate our veterans and our military that are currently serving. Unfortunately, we also had an increase, and we just got the letter last month that they will increase by 30%. So for this year, it would have been a goal to raise $14,000 for the fireworks, but with that 30% increase, it'll be $18,200. So, do you guys have any questions?
Is that for a show the same as last year then?
No.
Okay, all right. How much was that?
Our
30.
show last year was 30,000.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we would be looking at 36,000.
Right.
or 30.
Last year, the city council put up 12,500, and they would match up to 12,500 in community contributions, and the community came up with 17,500, something like that. But with the increase, it's on a 4th of July is on a Monday. We're gonna scale back just a little bit. Hopefully, the prices come back down. But we're still gonna need the community's help in raising up to the 18,000.
And Mike will take all the help he can get.
You're the chairman.
No, I just, if I may, Your Honor?
You may.
I just want to add, the event last year was, is for the kids because of the pandemic and everything. But to put it in perspective, when you had, were there 4 or 5 food vendors?
There was
5, weren't there? Yeah, and when they're running out of food, that tells you we did something right last year. I mean, a lot of people did something right. I mean, alls Mike and I did was go around and strong-arm businesses. We didn't really do any. Louisa did everything.
Yeah.
Mike and I just went around and threatened businesses with higher taxes. I mean, it was just your standard strong-arm stuff and,
They happily gave.
yeah, they were writing checks right there on the spot. So, no, Luisa's one that sets us all up for the entertainment. Takes no money from this. So,
And it was really nice because all the money that we raise goes to the fireworks.
yeah,
There's very minimal cost because everybody donates, like I donate the time, my kids and the school kids donate their time to go around and put up flyers or to put up donation cans. The groups that we hire are very minimal fee.
yeah.
So there's no other external cost. Most of the money goes, probably 90% of it goes to the fireworks directly. So the fairgrounds donates the use of the grounds.
The police department donates security.
And we had the National Guard brought up the climbing wall.
Yeah, it was,
Fire department.
yeah, fire department was there running around on that little 4-wheel drive.
Yep.
Well-
And the Marshalltown Municipal Band performs too at no
Yeah.
cost. So really, for the amount of entertainment that we have and all the activities and the food vendors and stuff, it really is, like I said, most of the money goes to the fireworks. So
Yeah.
there's not a huge cost to entertainment.
Yeah, so if Councilman Schneider would like to have a show like last year, he could always make a motion that the money could come out of the local option sales tax to, take it back to a $30,000 show. But I'm just saying if he wanted to, when the time comes, just saying. Thank you, Your Honor.
You're welcome.
Your Honor, if I may.
You may.
I think it's really interesting when you put on a show like that. When the fireworks were going off, everybody was filming it, and afterwards I asked a couple of them, what are you filming it? And they said, no, they were live streaming it to everywhere from Arizona, New Jersey, all over the place, saying, you ought to be in Marshalltown. Look at this. And that was pretty cool, that we're on the map like that. So I think sometime we got to get back to it with Jeff's help.
Yeah.
It has become, and mostly thanks to you, Luisa, it has become one of those things that we've become accustomed to around here, like the Oktoberfest parade, like the hanging plants on Main Street downtown, the banners that are going up. There's a new initiative there. Those are the things that make this town pop and make it exciting for people to come here and think they ought to live here and work here.
And it really is the community. It's not me. I mean, really the businesses and the people that come out to support the show. And we have a lot of people that don't necessarily go and sit at the fairgrounds to watch it, but as you drive away, you can see cars everywhere. So, you'll have the church that has their activities and they're watching the fireworks. You'll just go around and you can see everybody having either a home party or a business putting together something for their employees and watching the fireworks. So it really is the whole community.
I personally miss the ability to walk to the Veterans Home where it used to be, but for those veterans that served so many years for us that have PTSD. It's such a nicer venue too, where we have it now. It's really. Well, thanks so much for what you do.
We would like because this has to be adopted by resolution, I would like a motion and a second to move forward with, if it's 5,000, what's in the budget, or a dollar amount other than 5,000.
I move to approve the amount of 5,000.
Is there a second?
Second.
I guess we should probably, we've had a chance to visit up here, or we should probably call for public comment too, other than Lisa. Okay, roll call.
Lottie Hoff,
Yes.
Schneider,
Yes.
Thompson,
Yes.
Walker,
Yes.
Hoop,
Yes.
Isom,
Yes.
Kell.
Yes.
Very good. Thank you. Next topic is increased extra duty job hourly rate for police department personnel.
Mike Tupper, Marshalltown Police Department, one more time. So, the topic of fireworks. When the time comes, I will write a $100 check to support fireworks. If everybody else wants to do that, we could probably raise $1,000 tonight to give towards fireworks.
I'm in.
You're in.
I'm in.
So, let us know. Okay. So, extra duty. Sticky wicket for me, okay? So, a little background. You have a memo in your packet. A little background. Currently, we charge $55 an hour for extra duty jobs. And extra duty jobs are generally defined as sporting events, MMA style fight events, events where alcohol is served, dances, things of that nature. Things that are generally put on to generate a profit as well, okay? And so these events can sometimes be chaotic for our staff, oftentimes. We had a big event last year out at the rodeo that I personally work, and I don't get paid extra duty to work these events. I don't get paid anything to work these events. But it was chaotic, and I was involved with some fist fights. I'm too old for that, okay? But it was chaotic. So and it's tough work for our officers. It's not always desirable work. It's difficult to find officers that want to volunteer for this work. And so the question is, well, why do we even do it? It's extra duty. Why do you do it at all? Well, we do it because it's a public safety problem for us. Because generally we're working most nights, because these events happen at night and on weekends, we're working at minimum, which is 5 officers. So if there's a big fight at one of the ballrooms, a sporting event fight, and it turns in, I mean, a lot of times these MMA fights, quite frankly, there's more fighting in the stands than goes on in the ring. If we don't have officers there to deal with these issues, guess what? Our patrol staff gets stuck, and they're minimally staffed. And so there's usually not enough people working, so we have to have extra duty officers working these events. Some of the events are pretty darn easy, like standing at the football game on Friday night, or a basketball game, or a wrestling tournament. Those are I don't have trouble finding people to work those events, but it's the other events that could turn into a problem that we have trouble, okay? And so we charge $55, and in our union contract for our employees, they negotiated this actually. They get paid time and a half to work extra duty jobs. So the city charges $55, they work whatever their overtime rate is, okay? And I doubt we have anybody that makes $55 an hour on an overtime rate. But because some of these jobs are undesirable, a lot of times they don't want to work them for overtime, even if it's 45 or 50 bucks an hour. So in the interest of, we talked at the last meeting about retention and trying to do things for staff that will incentivize the work that they do. I think we should raise the extra duty job fee rate. And the proposal is to raise it to $80 an hour, from 55 to 80. And the staff will all receive, regardless of what their overtime rate is, a flat rate of $70 an hour. That's pretty decent money. Diana, to her credit, she contacted some of our similar sized cities and cities in the area to see what they were doing for extra duty. And I want you to know that what we're doing right now is pretty darn similar to what other cities are doing. So we're not really out of line with what we're doing right now. But I think we should do better, and I think we can do better. And I think $70 an hour for the officers is a fair rate. But in order for us to give them 70, we have to charge 80 because there is some overhead, okay? Because the officers are driving our cars, using our equipment, wearing our uniforms. They certainly want to be covered if they have to take police action and there's any kind of problem, so there's insurance issues. Finance department has to process the bills. We have to process the bills. There's payroll involved, stuff like that. So the proposal is raise the fee from 55 to 80, and then staff will receive a flat rate regardless of who they are for $70 an hour to work these jobs. And everybody in the police department would be eligible to receive this pay except for me, the chief of police. So that's the long story short. I'd be happy to answer questions.
Time for questions or comments?
Your Honor.
Sorry, Jay, go ahead.
Oh, no.
I just want to thank Chief Tuffer for bringing this forward, whether we move forward on it tonight or not, because this council did ask for him to be creative in the ways that he can support not just new employees on his team, but those that have been out there and bring a lot of great knowledge to our community and the work that they do. So thank you for doing that. I was concerned that we would stay in the brainstorming stage for so long that we wouldn't get the impact to our folks soon enough. So thank you for bringing something forward. And for what it's worth, I do support this this recommendation because as a community, we value these opportunities to have great ways to recreate in Marshalltown, and if this is what we need to keep people safe and our police proud of the work that they're doing and wanting to stay with us, that's great.
And I appreciate that. And I think it's important that I add a couple things. In my proposal, 2 events would not be included in the extra duty job rate. 4th of July, that's a big community event that I think we should support, so officers at work that would get their normal overtime rate. And Oktoberfest, which is also an important community event. Both events not for profit, and those are events that we should support. But other events, especially the ones that are for profit, I think this is justifiable. And I would also ask that the police chief have the ability and the discretion to sometimes waive extra duty jobs, because I do that often, right, for events that I know that really aren't going to be a problem for us. It's so hard to find people, because our officers work so much overtime as it is. So I would want the ability to still have the discretion to waive extra duty jobs where I think it's appropriate. And oftentimes those are jobs that I just volunteer my own time and work myself. So, and then the last thing I want you to know, there's some people in the police department that think this isn't enough. They want $100 cash on the spot, an hour. I don't think that's reasonable, personally. And I also have questions about the legality of paying police officers $100 an hour cash on the spot, okay? But I'm aware of one area agency that's doing that. I don't think we should do that, okay? So, again, I think $80 an hour, that's a lot of money for these people to have, for these organizers to have to come up with, because it's a 2-hour minimum, by the way, and for like the fights, we usually have 5 or 6 officers there. So that's a lot of money. And then the staff would get $70 on a flat fee. So, thank you.
Heck, you can have people throwing fists even at college basketball games these days. Doesn't take an MMA fight.
Your Honor.
Yes.
Mike, I just have one question and 2 comments. Question is, you've talked to the union about, the union's okay with this?
I've not gone to the union specifically about it, no. I've talked to some staff members about it. This is not, you know, we're actually offering something that's outside of what the union contract requires.
Just want to make sure that there wasn't a conflict there.
Well, I don't think there is a conflict. We're giving them more than they negotiated
I just
for.
want to make sure. Right. Okay. And then two comments. One, since Luis is sitting here in the audience, that was not, since we earlier approved a rodeo, that was not her rodeo that you were talking about earlier,
No.
right?
No.
I'm going to make sure that with her sitting here, I'll make sure I get said. And then my last comment is, I agree with Councilman Walker. I support this. I mean, it's not unreasonable to ask these event organizers to pony up the money. So, thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Thank you. Other council comments? I'll open it to the public, and then maybe if staff wants direction, we can solicit that too. Nobody from the public's getting up to speak, so does anybody wish to put that in the form of a motion?
Your Honor, I would move that we give direction to staff to proceed with this at the said rate.
Is there a second?
Second.
Let's call the roll on this one.
Schneider,
Yes.
Thompson,
Yes.
Walker,
Yes.
Hoop,
Yes.
Isom,
Yes.
Kell,
Yes.
Lottiehoff.
Yes.
So I appreciate that, and I'll bring something back in the form of a resolution, and also was included in the memo, just for the public to know. Any changes that we make will be effective July 1st, so that people will have some time to plan their events. So, thank you very much.
Thanks, Chief.
Thanks, Mike.
All right, our last item of discussion listed is the fire department fee schedule.
Good evening, Dave Ryerson, Marshalltown Fire Department. So you have a memo in your packet from me, and what we're here to discuss is fees. So back in January, I came and you guys approved a contract for private services with Iowa Inspections LLC with the intent of helping improve our fire code inspection program. So to try and help explain it to you, the International Fire Code stipulates certain occupancies get inspected, and that's due to either the nature of the business or the process that goes on in the building. And they're required to have an inspection every year. But what that doesn't necessarily include is all the business type, and just like a business office or something like that, that does not require, doesn't require a per se permit, but those are buildings that we're missing and not getting inspected. So what I'm proposing that we do with Iowa Inspections is we're going to have them inspect those type of business occupancies for us. We have in the area of about 350 or 360 business type occupancies that we're not getting into on an annual basis, and they need to be getting into. So what I have here for you is a proposed new fee schedule for our services. The first one that I want to address is hazardous materials. And basically the fee schedule is just an update to what the Iowa Fire Service Alliances have agreed to on fees. So that's the Iowa Fire Chiefs, the Iowa Firefighters Alliance, the Iowa Professional Firefighters, and the Iowa Professional Fire Chiefs. They have all agreed to this. So all we're doing is we're updating those fees for the 2022 calendar year. Illegal burning, which is addressed in our fees. Surprisingly, last year, we ran less legal burn calls. So what I'm proposing is we leave those the same. We don't do anything with them. Occupancy permits are going to be divided up by frequency, whether you need an annual inspection or an every other year inspection. And the every other year inspection would be those small businesses that we don't get all the time or aren't required to have an inspection every year by the fire code. The permit fees for the businesses that do require an annual inspection, I'm requesting an increase of $10 for each of those permit fees. And then a fee schedule for our other businesses that Iowa Inspections will be handling will be based on a square footage fee. So a business that is like, and a lot of them will fall into this, less than 3,000 square feet, the annual fee would be $100 for the inspection. It's a two-year permit. So that's $50 a year, which keeps it in line with what we're charging for other permits for other businesses in the city. And that was kind of what I wanted to accomplish, was keep it in line. Then when it comes to re-inspections, If they don't pass the inspection, there is a re-inspection fee that's equal to the initial inspection fee. Now, what I'm working on right now is a letter to send out to the businesses explaining the process and giving them a list of the most common fire code violations that cause occupancies to fail inspections. And the goal is to have them address those ahead of time so that a reinspection isn't necessary. So that's my request of the council. I apologize, I realize that the fee schedule print is really small, but I tried to keep it on one page, so I couldn't even read it. So I'd be happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Are there any?
I have a couple, Your Honor. Hey, Dave, are we double dipping on a couple like on the restaurants? Don't they have state compliance and state inspections on the restaurants? Or is that strictly food related?
That's strictly food related.
Okay, so there's no state fire inspection for those?
No. So the only occupancies in our city that are getting state inspections would be the hospital and the nursing homes and the veterans home. They are the only ones that are getting state inspections.
Okay, as far as fire?
As far as
Fire code,
Mhm,
fire
yep.
code. And then, is there a way to, when you said that re-inspection, you know, if they fail the first one, is there a way to waive the second inspection fee if, when you go back, if they're completely in compliance then?
We're still committing the resources.
I understand.
To go there and do the inspection. So my
Okay.
recommendation would be no. And a part of that is kind of a compliance tool.
I understand.
Is
To-
making sure they get
yep.
it right the first time, and then we don't have to go back.
For lack of better words, to light a fire under them to make sure they did it?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Thanks, Dave. Thanks, Your Honor.
Other council questions or public comment? You want staff direction on this one too? Okay. Anybody like to make a motion to approve the recommendation?
So moved, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Second.
Roll call.
Before we do that, Your Honor, what's your effective date on this then?
I'm looking to kick it off April 1st.
Oh, right away.
Yeah.
Does that give you time to get the letters out to everybody?
Well, I drafted the letter today, and hopefully I'll have them out. If I have to delay it a week or two, that's no, it's not a big deal. But April 1st is what I'm shooting for. We
But
should be able to get the letters out by then.
But your staff and the inspection company that we hired, you're ready to start rocking and rolling on this then?
Yep.
Okay. Thank you, Your Honor.
And we'll still need to approve a resolution at the next meeting
Correct.
to make it official.
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
Very good.
let's roll the call. Call the roll.
Lottie
Yes.
Schneider,
Yes.
Thompson,
Yes.
Walker,
Yes.
Hoop. Isom,
Yes.
Kell.
Yes.
Okay, that carried.
Thank you.
Staff has direction on that one too. Thanks for your work on that as well. We're at the time for public comment now, and this caveat is that members of the public may make comments on any items that were not on the agenda at this time. You have to speak into the microphone, say your name and address, limit your comments to 3 minutes unless I authorize longer. Direct your comments to the mayor and council as a whole. And we, as mayor and councilors, are not to engage in discussion or debate on these items raised by members of the public, and action may be taken on them. Otherwise, we might fail to comply with the open meetings laws. With that said, the microphone is open for public comment. I don't see anybody rushing up to the mic. I have one comment I'd like to make publicly, and that is I've been getting some inquiries about the Ukrainian consul in Chicago and others that are interested in looking at what influence we might be able to exert on our sister city in Russia. The staff was able to come up with the resolution that created that back in 1991. The only person I know of who's alive today that was on the council and working on that back then was Jim Lawrence, so I've put a call into him and I'm waiting for a call back. But I'm suspecting somebody else in the public may know more about the sister city relationship with Russia than I do. In the 10 years I've been connected with the council now, I've only seen things coming in, and it's mostly a one-direction thing from Japan. The sister city there is good at sending us annual calendars and updates and things like that. haven't seen anything from Russia, so I don't have good contact information. But as your mayor, I am interested in learning more about it and in getting input too about whether we should cease having a sister city as making a statement, or we should continue the relationship or try to ramp it up a little bit to try to impart information to my counterpart, the mayor in Bujansk, Russia, to tell them what we know about what's going on in the world. So that's all I wanted to bring up tonight. Seeing nobody else standing or walking up to the microphone, let's call this as adjourned at 6:52 p.m. I'm going to have to change that clock up there. That's been thrown out a little bit. Thanks for coming tonight.
I think so. Jessica?